would you please share why you think this topic of soul love, a new paradigm of partnership, is important?
Yes. Well, love is the most wonderful thing, right? That's the beginning. Let's start with that. All we really want is love. But you know what? As a species, humans, we are communal. We like to connect to people with intimacy. And I think if we really think about it, our greatest desire is to be understood.
Mm.
And so when we open to soul love, it's a journey of self awakening and of intimacy and understanding.
Mm. So true. Well, I'm going to give the class to you so you can share your divinely guided messages for us today. So here we go.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this. I know you're here because you're interested in soul love. And as Vivek was saying, I have been channeling Isis and Magdalene for nearly 30 years now. And during that time, love has been a prominent aspect of my journey here on earth. And I've also experienced soul love. When I think back to the first time that I intersected with a soulmate in a way that I hadn't understood before, it was not romantic love. It was a friend. I was in an exchange program in high school. And so I went to England, and the family I stayed with and the girl at the time that I stayed with, because we were young, she was very tomboyish. And I know when her mom saw me get off the bus with my long hair, long blonde hair, and, dressed kind of fancy, she got nervous because she thought we would never get along. But there was this instant bond between us that seemed ancient. It had gone, it was a knowing. It was like coming home. And we remained very close throughout her life. She did pass away at a young age from cancer. And, even in that experience, in her crossing, the grief that of feeling her on the other side, I used to wake up crying in my dreams when I missed her. But that is just one example of soul love. And what I've discovered throughout many experiences is that soul love is here for everyone. There's very many different aspects of it. And it is about a self awakening. It's a opportunity to grow individually and in partnership, as I said. So we're going to get into the depth of that today. And because romantic love is the most restrictive in our society, um, because we have so many rules around romantic love, but we also have so much desire for intimacy there. And there's the energetic connection that can happen, the creative energy, the sexual energy. A lot of times people think of soul love as romantic, and it can be or it cannot be. In fact, we can love on a soul level no matter how deep the connection is to us and the other person. But for today, I am going to focus mostly on romantic love just because, as I said, it is the most restrictive. And so, therefore, it is actually the hardest place to navigate deep soul love because we have so many rules as a society and, therefore, so many expectations. It's really the only place where we talk about being in or out of love. Like, this is something that is, some a wave that can hit us and then be gone the next day or the next year, where with our children, with our friends, we don't have those expectations of an in or an out. We let them flow more fluidly, which is ideally what we'll do in romantic love as well. But we don't as a society yet. So we're going to focus on that. And then I would say the most restrictive after that would be a parent child relationship. And that's because we also have societal rules or family expectations of what we should do as a parent child relationship. So as we go through this, you can adjust these understandings to any relationship in your life. And from there, like I said, if we address one of the most restrictive, it only gets easier as you bring these techniques into your other relationships. So let's start with the evolution of romantic relationships or partnerships, because I think, as I said, we have a lot of rules and we're very confused as a society on a whole. And that's because if you look back in time, the idea of romance wasn't really what we focused on. In the early days of survival, we were partnering up with different people and creating families for survival, both of the individual and of the community, right? With procreation and bringing in offspring. We can really relate this back to the animal kingdom as we perceive it now. It's really very methodical, it makes sense. In the human relationships, we had the women who tended to be gatherers and were able to see and look at small details, but also see the overview. The men were the ones who were focused on the hunting, staying very focused, providing. So some of those baseline, very instinctual survival expectations are now put into our intimate relationships. And we've grown over time as we weren't necessarily needing that survival support as much. Romance, the idea of romance and actually having this love affair, these deep emotional bonds came into play. And we just sort of added it to that relationship. We didn't really change it necessarily, we just added it in. And then as a society, we're evolving, as individual souls, we're growing, and we're now really moving into that desire for more intimacy. And more people are waking up, remembering their soul connection to the divine in whatever aspect that you talk about it. And in that space, we're wanting something different. We're wanting something more intimate. We're wanting this deep energetic connection. And in that desire, again, we haven't really changed the framework that we put these relationships in. We're now adding all of this intensity, this desire, this romance, this energy, this soul love. And then we often just try to confine it right down into the old paradigm of relationships. And so we have all these rules around it. A good partner will do this, won't do this. And we create this space that is very confusing on a soul level. So we need to sort of look at our ideas and beliefs around relationships. And this is an exercise that I'm going to give you. We're going to talk a little bit more later in this class. And then I actually have a worksheet for you, because really looking at your beliefs about what a relationship should be. And again, this can be used in any relationship, but if you focus on the most restrictive, we were going for the romantic, right? So, what would be some of the ideas that you were presented, maybe from your family, from television, from movies, from history? What are those beliefs about relationships, what they should look like? Should your partner be able to provide for you financially? Should your apartment or your partner be someone who is there for you when you're upset, is able to be emotionally bonded, to understand you? Look at some of the things society has told you about your beliefs of these relationships and see which ones need to be upgraded, because you're probably experiencing some beliefs that you just accepted because they're the way of society, or they were ingrained into you at a very young age, and you didn't even realize that you had them until you're in a relationship. And now you're looking for intimacy, but getting upset maybe when the financial discussions are not comfortable, or, you know, feeling exhausted because you're taking care of the children, and then you're not able to notice how your partner is supporting you in some ways. And there's a real habit of, when this happens, we take this beautiful love that might be there, might be at the start of a relationship, might be underneath all of this, and then we try to smush it into a very confined belief system, or framework of what that relationship should be and how we should act in there. And when that happens, we're no longer relating to the person that we feel this love for. We're not relating one on one to each other. We're relating role to role.